Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. Years back, and hit subscribe, I was called by the Huffington Post the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet. I was called, the Washington Post labeled me the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters. You can read those articles on hagoodman.com. Why is that important? Well, if you want a president that is opposed to endless military conflict, and you want a president, Trump, that preside over record low poverty, so if ending perpetual military involvement and quagmires is your top goal, which was always my top objective in politics, and also alleviating poverty, addressing the root causes of poverty, what Democrats like to say, you want Donald Trump. So you go from Bernie Sanders to Trump because you care about the economy, and you want an anti-endless military quagmire foreign policy. That's how you go from Bernie Sanders to Trump. If you lack the understanding of history and politics, so much so that you just can't fathom how Bernie 2016 voters can go to Trump, well, that's how it happens. Foreign policy, you want the least militant option, and a great economy. We had record highs in household median income with Trump, and we had record low poverty with Trump. And we had low interest rates and low inflation, and it was an amazing economy up until Democrats and Congress, governors shut down economic activity because of you know what. Okay, fast forward 8 years. Bernie Sanders was part of the same corrupt machine that he, I think, duped a lot of people into thinking he was against. But Fox News, Trump features Jill Biden in new ad for fragrance. Enemies can't resist. Oh, this is amazing. We will get to, you're just going to hear Joe Biden tell you that he's going to stay in the presidential contest in 2024 in a couple of seconds. And then we'll fast forward to Harris suddenly acquiring the nomination without winning even one state. Biden won his primary. Bernie Sanders was railroaded in his primary in 2016. Democrats pontificate about Trump's lies and democracy. All they do for the past 7 years was endless lies, culminating in what happened to Biden, which was the greatest theft, the greatest political theft of all time, even more so than 4 years ago, almost certainly. What they did to Bernie Sanders was nothing compared to what they did to Biden. And we'll get to that in a second. This is a photo. Why am I doing this segment? I'll probably do a lot more of these. This is fun for me. I'm doing this because Jill and Joe and all of them, Harris and the Clintons and Joe Scarborough and Mika and MSNBC and CNN and the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Atlantic, Vanity Fair, Esquire, Rolling Stone, they all told you, BuzzFeed, Vice, they all told you that Trump was a menace to democracy. He was a 1930s and 1940s despot and totalitarian. And now you see Jill happy as can be with Trump. There's speculation that she actually voted for, chose Trump in 2024. But hit subscribe to this channel. I want you to listen to one of the greatest lies ever told by Joe Biden, but also against him. They stated he was the most popular candidate of all time. Then they removed him and ousted him, which makes no sense and lends credibility to everything Trump was saying 4 years ago. Hit subscribe.
Thank you. Hello, Wisconsin. I gotta thank somebody. Gaylord Nelson, I'm back. He first introduced me to Wisconsin a long time ago when I was a kid. I'm only 40 now, but I was a kid then. Sabrina, thank you for the introduction and for the volunteering for our campaign. And a special thanks to one of the best governors I've ever worked with in my life, Tony Evers. You've got a former governor, Jim Doyle, Madison Road, mayor of this city. And look, we got a guy who has a tough time winning an election. He gets 70% of the vote, Congressman Mark Pocan. And so many local leaders here today, including the chair of Wisconsin Democratic Party, Ben Wickler. Ben, oh, Ben. Folks, did you have a good 4th of July? By the way, if you wonder whether Trump has it all together, did you ever hear how he explained the 4th of July when he was president? No, I'm serious. This is true. His explanation how America won the Revolutionary War, I'm not making this up. He said in his 4th of July speech 5 years ago, he said, George Washington's army won the revolution by taking control of the airports from the British. Talk about me misspeaking. Airports and the British in 1776. It's true, he is a stable genius, this man.
So that's the beginning of it. We'll listen to more of it, but I want to just hear, this is what I'm looking for right here.
You voted for me to be your nominee. No one else. You, the votes. The voters did that. And despite that some folks don't seem to care who you voted for, well, guess what? They're trying to push me out of the race. No! Well, let me say this as clearly as I can. I'm staying in the race. I'll beat Donald Trump. I will beat him again in 2020. Well, by the way, we're going to do it again in 2024. I learned long ago, when you get knocked down, you get back up.
I'll beat him again in 2020.
And I'm not letting one 90-minute debate wipe out 3.5 years of work. As the governor said, I've led this nation from the depths of pandemic to the strongest economy in the world, and that's literally true. And I and you are not finished yet. Now, you probably also noticed a lot of discussion about my age. I know I look 40. I keep seeing all those stories about I'm being too old. Let me say something. I was too old. I wasn't too old to create over 15 million new jobs. To make sure 21 million Americans are insured under the Affordable Care Act. To beat Big Pharma, the first firm to ever do that, and lower the cost of business to $35 procedure. Was I too old to relieve student debt for nearly 5 million Americans and grow the economy?
So, ladies and gentlemen, the greatest lie told to the American public, possibly could have been the things Trump was talking about 4 years ago, even though they're thoroughly debunked. They're so debunked that Democrats removed the most popular candidate of all time. So they ousted the most popular candidate of all time. He promised people that he would stay in the presidential contest. And he was then ousted and removed, and they kicked him basically to the curb. Now, you have to wonder if the First Lady, his First Lady, is upset. Jill Biden, do you think maybe she was upset? She was wearing a Make America Great Again red dress on November 5th. So, and you see the photo with her and Trump. I don't think that she truly believes that Trump's a menace to democracy. I don't think any Democrat with a functioning brain cell truly believed that. The point, however, ladies and gentlemen, is that you have a situation where they have lied about Trump for so long. that the charade is now over. The charade is now over. And you have this photo that speaks 1,000 words. Do you think that after 8 years of saying that Trump was a Kremlin operative, that he was the menace to democracy, the worst thing that could ever happen to the country, do you think they truly believe that? Or that, you know what, to them it's all politics, but to your cousin or your uncle or aunt or family member or sister or brother or best friend or lifelong friend, they really took it seriously. Maybe they really took it seriously. Maybe they took it too seriously. And then you have people now with Trump's second term not going to Thanksgiving dinners. And it's like you have friends disowning others because the morally superior liberal Democrat doesn't know why you want to vote for Trump. Doesn't know why you want a better economy and a better foreign policy. But this, ladies and gentlemen, is a couple of years after Biden gives this ominous speech in front of a red backdrop with Marines behind him. Okay? This is what Democrats think is democracy. Giving this type of ominous speech with military behind Biden, trying to convince people that they're saving the country and the Constitution and the rule of law and decency and Christmas and grandma and everything else good from big bad Trump. Hit subscribe to this channel. This is only a couple years removed. A couple years before they ousted Biden, a couple of years before he promised to stay in the presidential contest, before they removed him disgracefully. What they did to what they did to Biden is a billion times worse than they did to Bernie Sanders. And before Joe Biden, 2 years before Joe Biden was just, relaxing, talking with Trump, Biden was trying to warn the country of Trump's menace and all his voters and all his supporters, the menace to democracy and decency.
My fellow Americans, please, if you have a seat, take it. I speak to you tonight from sacred ground in America, Independence Hall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This is where America made its Declaration of Independence to the world more than 2 centuries ago with an idea unique among nations, that in America, we're all created equal. This is where the United States Constitution was written and debated. This is where we set in motion the most extraordinary experiment of self-government the world has ever known. With 3 simple words: we the people, we the people. These 2 documents and the ideas they embody, equality and democracy, are the rock upon which this nation is built.
Then why, after you won your primary, did they remove you? Why did they remove this man after he won his primary if democracy is the foundation of our country? Why? I thought Trump talked about airports. Wasn't that enough to defeat him again in 24? Because you really defeated him 4 years ago, right?
They're how we became the greatest nation on earth. They're why, for more than 2 centuries, America has been a beacon to the world. But as I stand here tonight, equality and democracy are under assault. We do ourselves no favor to pretend otherwise.
Then why is the soon-to-be the former First Lady sitting with Trump? Why did Mika and Joe and MSNBC, why did Trudeau, why are all these leaders who oppose Trump, all these pundits and leaders who oppose Trump, who lied about him, why are they all meeting him in Mar-a-Lago? I'm showing this, ladies and gentlemen, because it's very important. I'm showing this because Trump defeated Harris when, for years, they were telling us that Biden was the only thing that could protect democracy. They go from lie to lie, grandiose lie to grandiose lie. I think this is a wonderful trip down memory lane.
So tonight, I've come to this place where it all began to speak as plainly as I can to the nation about the threats we face, about the power we have in our own hands to meet these threats, and about the incredible future that lies in front of us if only we choose it. We must never forget, we the people are the true heirs of the American experiment that began more than 2 centuries ago. We the people have burning inside of each of us the flame of liberty that was lit here at Independence Hall.
And we, the people, voted Trump twice. He won the popular vote. The point, though, is that Democrats and media and pundits have lied about Trump, and they even use the United States government to do so. Forget about, like, everything that all of these Democratic congressional leaders said, the Steele dossier, which was purchased by Clinton, that was supposed to prove that Trump was a Kremlin operative. They accused Trump of being installed by another country. They never for 1 second conceded. They lied, and people will be indicted for lying and imprisoned, very likely prosecuted, and serve prison time. A number of people. Okay? But then you have the U.S. government not only working with then Twitter to silence conservatives, but you have the U.S. government. This is Joe Biden with a red, ominous background, accusing his political rival of being the antithesis of democracy and a menace to the Republic and the Constitution and everything good. And then this is 2 years before he was ousted. That's the point, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want you to just simply watch this just because it's amusing. I mean, it's amusing to me. To you, it might be understandably, annoying. But it's important to watch. It's important to watch this and understand it for what it is, a pure propaganda, a pure attempt by a government, our government, to demonize a political opponent while they were trying to imprison him. So this was alongside the Mar-a-Lago raid, Trump getting indicted, Trump possibly facing prison time, which I told you from day one was nonsense. I said not even 1 second would he spend in prison or jail. And if you watch this channel, you knew, and I was telling you that they're not going to go with Biden. And they didn't go with Biden. But let's continue.
A flame that lit our way through abolition, the Civil War, suffrage, the Great Depression, world wars, civil rights. That sacred flame still burns. Now in our time, as we build an America that is more prosperous, free, and just. That is the work of my presidency, a mission I believe in with my whole soul. But first, we must be honest with each other.
Then why did they replace you with Harris? This is a question every Democrat should ask. Unfortunately, they're so indoctrinated, they think it's just politics as usual. This is definitely not politics as usual. The same president that was warning us about Trump and the supporters of Trump and their menace to democracy was himself ousted and removed from 2024, from his candidacy, from his campaign. After one debate, it took one debate, ladies and gentlemen, one debate. That's it, just one debate, and discarded. But he was the most popular candidate of all time. So what happened?
And with ourselves. Too much of what's happening in our country today is not normal. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
Then why did he win the popular vote? Why did he win the popular vote? This is amusing to me, ladies and gentlemen, because they make these grandiose statements dripping with this nauseating, reverence of the past. But then reality is the antithesis of everything they claim to care about. The Republic and Trump won the popular vote, and this man was ousted. The same man who was talking about the purity and the reverence for democracy and how our country was founded was himself removed after he won a primary. He won all 50 states. He won the map of Biden winning the Democratic primary is all blue. It's all powder blue. Not one candidate that he ran against. I don't even know how many people did he run against? And Harris didn't even run. She didn't even run. And then you still have people say, "Well, she won her nomination." No, she didn't. How did she win her nomination? It was handed to her.
Now, I want to be very clear up front. Not every Republican, not even the majority of Republicans are MAGA Republicans. Not every Republican embraces their extreme ideology. I know, because I've been able to work with these mainstream Republicans. But there's no question that the Republican Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans.
The Trump populism is an anti-war, pro-economy political viewpoint. It's not even an ideology. Trump doesn't deal with doctrine and dogma. He just does what's good for the country. That's it. Democrats have convinced themselves. This is why this is so great. It's important, ladies and gentlemen. He's referring to like Liz Cheney and people that Mitt Romney. And what Democrats long for is a candidate like Nikki Haley who could be defeated by anyone. Biden, anyone. Harris could defeat Nikki Haley in a presidential contest. Okay, Harris lost to Trump and the popular vote. Trump won the popular vote, defeated Harris after the Democrats removed Biden. But what Democrats long for is a return to the Mitt Romney, Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld Republican Party that doesn't exist anymore. That doesn't exist anymore. Okay? You have a Trump Republican Party that will not send Americans overseas simply because an intelligence report says, oh, bad things are happening. We need to send Americans, men and women, overseas to endless counterinsurgency conflicts. That won't happen now. Or I should say the likelihood is less that it happens, much less.
And that is a threat to this country. These are hard things. But I'm an American president, not a president of red America, blue America, but of all America. And I believe it's my duty to level with you, to tell the truth.
The same doublespeak from Democratic Party candidates. Make America great again Republicans are threats to democracy, but I'm for all Americans, and I need to level with you, though. I have to give you the honest truth. 2 years before I'm ousted and Trump wins the popular vote. These people are extreme and terrible. And they should be. It's a political movement that should be eliminated. And yet, Harris is the one who didn't win a primary who goes up against Trump.
No matter how difficult, no matter how painful. And here, in my view, is what is true. MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution. They do not believe in the rule of law. They do not recognize the will of the people.
Then why 2 years later is Jill Biden just relaxing and talking and having a great time with Donald Trump, the supposed menace of American politics? What happened? What happened? This is an important question, ladies and gentlemen. Why? And we know the answer, because Democrats never believed. You think the people at MSNBC truly believed Trump was a Kremlin operative who was a menace to democracy? You think they truly believe he's a totalitarian, authoritarian? They just spout these dumb talking points, and then the artificial intelligence robots, the pundits and the journalists and the wonderful morally superior liberals who won't go to your Thanksgiving dinner, they just repeat the same nonsense. Oh, he's an authoritarian. Now this is another one from really stupid people. He has an authoritarian tendencies. What does that even mean? What does that mean, tendencies? What does that mean? Did the authoritarians of the 30s and 40s have Truth Social or Twitter? What does that mean?
They refuse to accept the results of a free election, and they're working right now, as I speak, in state after state, to give power to decide elections in America to partisans and cronies.
Trump won every battleground state, and he did better with non-white voters than any Republican ever.
Empowering election deniers to undermine democracy itself. Conservatives, like Federal Circuit Court Judge, task is to make our nation free and fair, just and strong, noble and whole. And this work is the work of democracy, the work of this generation. It is the work of our time, for all time. We can't afford to leave anyone on the sidelines. We need everyone to do their part. So speak up, speak out, get engaged, vote, vote, vote.
And there's a question now as to perhaps there's speculation. There's no evidence, but there's speculation that the First Lady voted for Trump.
Vote. And if we do our duty,
So I want to listen to this again really quickly. Well, I mean, you might say, like, why are we doing this? What is wrong with, like, why do we have to listen to this? And the answer is, it's a Sunday evening, but also it's very important, ladies and gentlemen, to understand, to recap. I'm going to do this often. Every time you hear, oh, Kash Patel isn't qualified, oh, Trump has authoritarian tendencies, and whatever other nonsense you hear about Trump from here on out, these are the same people that were debunked, they like to use that term, every step of the way, and they were so confident, and they were so, for some people, very convincing. But they don't believe any of it. He doesn't believe this when he says it. You can hear it again.
You voted for me to be your nominee. No one else. You, the voters did that. And despite that some folks don't seem to care who you voted for, well, guess what? They're trying to push me out of the race. No! Well, let me say this as clearly as I can. I'm staying in the race. I'll beat Donald Trump. I will beat him again in 2020. Well, by the way, we're going to do it again in 2024. I learned long ago, when you get knocked down, you get back up.
Except when the Democratic Party anointed you and catapulted you to the most powerful position on planet Earth and then removed you as if you were an actor in some sitcom. Which, by the way, you had George Clooney and others writing op-eds. I think it was like in the New York Times. Oh, yeah, for the good of the country. Oh, he stepped down for the good of the country. It's like, who believes this nonsense? How much of an imbecile do you have to be to truly believe that Biden stepped down for the good of the country? You're dissing yourself. You're literally admitting that he stepped down because he never had what it took to be there in the first place. It took one debate for him to be forced to step down. One debate. It took 3 weeks after that debate for the media onslaught to intimidate and bully him into stepping down. That's what Trump has to deal with, has had to deal with for 8 years, and he still does to a great extent. And he won the popular vote. It took 3 weeks to dismantle Biden's campaign after he had won the Democratic primary. Media is very powerful against anyone but Trump.
And I'm not letting one 90-minute debate wipe out 3.5 years of work. As the governor said, I've led this nation from the depths of pandemic to the strongest economy in the world, and that's literally true. And I and you are not finished yet. Now, you probably also noticed a lot of discussion about my age. I know I look 40. I keep seeing all those stories about I'm being too old. Let me say something. I was too old. I wasn't too old to create over 15 million new jobs.
The vast majority were government jobs. The vast majority also were jobs that simply were people going back to their work because when Democratic governors shut down their states gleefully during Trump's last year, the people just went back to work. He didn't create any new jobs. Or if he did, it was very minuscule, mostly for people, let's say foreign-born workers and government workers and people who were just going back to jobs after states were shut down.
To make sure 21 million Americans are insured under the Affordable Care Act. To beat Big Pharma, the first one to ever do that, and lower the cost of insulin to $35 procedure.
Democrats and big you-know-what are like hand in hand beyond like the Democratic Party and that industry are basically the same things.
Was I too old to relieve student debt for nearly 5 million Americans and grow the economy?
So nothing else, like they say, oh, Bernie Sanders was so interested, or so he was so influential in what? You couldn't even get student loan debt through because it was unconstitutional. And it's like, that's just, what good is student loan debt if you can't afford a house because mortgage rates have doubled. Mortgage rates have doubled under Biden and Harris. That's why they lost. And ladies and gentlemen, the fun times will end soon. I will just have to show you this, and then we could end this amusing live stream. I don't know if people are happy, but I am enjoying it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Evening. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You know, the crowd reminds me of like actual despots when you like they speak and everyone's like, yay, yay, and they don't, like, nobody wants to be the first person to stop clapping. There are like really scary videos of like former despots and true authoritarians, and nobody wants to really stop clapping. I mean, who is that excited? She didn't win a primary and lost the popular vote to Trump after he was quote unquote convicted in New York, which nobody really believed. Because it was unconstitutional. A state cannot level a federal charge. The DOJ dropped the hush money case. There was zero evidence. And also, according to the FEC, FEC chairman, he could go ahead and could have paid Stormy with dollar bills. It wouldn't have mattered. But let's continue.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
I can tell you almost certainly the USA chant that's not something that the Democratic Party tries to promote. Definitely not. The far left would never, any symbol of the United States is an affront to the far left. The flag, anything, the national anthem. So it's like this whole charade was, how can we pretend that there's enough grassroots support throughout the country for Harris after Biden was removed and ousted? And let's pretend that we're actually a patriotic political party, so we'll chant USA when that's happened from day one at Trump rallies, and it was always viewed as xenophobic and jingoistic and the nationalism of Trump. Oh my God. But now Democrats are doing the same thing, or we're doing the same thing for a second.
Thank you all. Okay, we got to get to some business. Okay, thank you all. Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Please, thank you, please, thank you so very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Okay, let's get to business. Let's get to business. All right. So let me start by thanking my most incredible husband, Doug, for being an incredible partner to me, stranger to unlikely journeys. So, my mother, our mother, Shamala Harris, had one of. That was my mother. On behalf, intent to jail journalists, political opponents.
But it was President Obama who actually did jail journalists, and it was the Democratic Party that did go after political opponents by setting up and framing Trump, pretending that he was a Kremlin operative, distorting and really twisting legal theory to try to convict him of things he didn't do. And now Trump is actually going to use legal statutes to find out if people broke the law in trying to imprison him based on nonsense. You cannot imprison Trump and break the law in doing so under false pretenses or under absurd legal theories that you concoct together simply to go after your direct political rival. You can't do that. You just can't do. There was nothing Trump ever did where not one thing, not one shred of evidence from the whole Mueller probe, he was a Kremlin operative. All this was lies and nonsense, literally paid for by Democrats, specific Democrats. He didn't commit any crime in a speech in January, and even the Supreme Court backed him up time and time again. He didn't commit a rebellion. The Colorado Supreme Court backed him on that. I mean, I'm sorry, the U.S. Supreme Court overruled the Colorado Supreme Court, stating that he committed a rebellion, which he didn't. The Supreme Court backed him on presidential immunity, backed him on being on every ballot. He won every constitutional argument. And they said he's a convicted felon, but nobody believed that. And people likely committed crimes and likely will become felons themselves in trying to work to indict this man and convict this man. He was the people who used the law to go after Trump very likely broke the law in their apoplectic quest to imprison Trump. So anyway, that was the Democrats against Trump. And then they project and say, well, Trump is just like that.
And anyone he sees as the enemy. His explicit intent to deploy our active duty military against our own citizens.
So literally none of this is true. Literally none of this is true. Well, we can go on forever. If you are about to, in Trump's administration, if you are about to commit crimes on a grand scale, then yes, he's going to utilize the military, which I think President Obama did numerous times. But you have to, I mean, what are you going to do? Just allow what took place in Trump's last year in office? I mean, he should have, in his last year in office, done that. But you had Democratic-run cities with curfews and billions in property damage. But let's listen to this really quickly. This is Biden conceding to Trump after you hear that he was a menace to democracy and all this.
Hi, Finn. How are you, honey? For over 200 years, America has carried on the greatest. It's clear, assuming we sustain it. We're going to be okay, but we need to stay engaged. We need to keep going. And above all,
it looks like he's never been happier. It looks like the man has never been happier.
We need to keep the faith. I'm so proud to have worked with all of you. I really mean it. I sincerely mean it. God bless you all. God bless America. And may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I feel this is important because it's just a microcosm, a little case study into a little case study into the most grandiose, consequential political lie in recent memory. The two greatest lies: Trump was a Kremlin operative, and Biden is the most popular candidate of all time, and that he's staying in the presidential contest, and nothing is going to remove him. Oh, oopsie, then he's removed. This should be a case study in a political party with endless lies. The same people who pontificate about Trump's lies, they haven't looked in the mirror, because I don't really know what Trump lies about. Everything he says he wants. He wants a wall. He wants to drill more. He wants to end wars. I mean, he wants all these things. You could point to like little things here and there that aren't accurate that he said, but grandiose lies. Servers with top secret intel for yoga. Hunter's laptop is a Kremlin disinformation campaign. Biden's going to stay in the presidential contest. I mean, these are grandiose, monumental lies. Oh, he's spoken on a plane about golf and Brexit. Had nothing to do with then the Bureau of Investigation and Clinton servers. I mean, are you kidding me? Anyway, hit subscribe, people. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. To my super chat, thank you. God bless you all. Sorry you had to go through all this. I'm going to keep doing these every so often just to remind everyone of where we've been. Because I think it was Harris who said something about, well, so high where we've been and something of the past. I don't even know. I'm sure she made